Welcome, everyone, to the Executive Compass. This is where we get insights from executive firm founders. We'll dive into their story, how they got started, their challenges and opportunities, and how they're shaping their business for the future. For those of you watching this podcast, I'm Amisha Srimankar, founder of Vector Growth Partners, and we specialize in helping executive firms scale their revenue in 12 months. Today's guest is Bill Lawless, founder of Recruitful.com. Hey, Bill, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How are you today?
I'm doing terrific. I'm doing terrific.
Wonderful. And where are you dialing in from?
Coming in from South Florida, Fort Lauderdale.
Wonderful. Good weather for you, huh?
Yeah, it's actually a little overcast today, but we don't get too many of those, so we enjoy them as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, awesome. Bill, for our audience today who's watching, do you mind doing a brief introduction, please?
Sure. My name is Bill Lawless. I'm actually a co-founder here at Recruitful. And so a little bit about Recruitful, Recruitful is a recruiting company built on kind of a simple belief, really, meaningful conversations reveal the real signal. Because of this, we run a rigorous process through kind of conversations and being honest and respecting the candidate and the clients on both sides, and really valuing the experience and trying to get the most out of those conversations. Especially in this day and age, we've kind of been built like this since 2017 when we started, but we blend smart automation with kind of real human interaction, really leaning on, kind of automating where technology is meant to be injected, but also realizing that it has to have that human touch. And, our goal is simple, really kind of save everybody time, keep the process transparent, and deliver talent that's ready to thrive and technically qualified.
Wonderful. Okay, I'd love to know a little bit about your background and how you came about to becoming, how did you come about doing what you're doing today? What
Sure,
got you
sure.
started?
Yeah, so I studied at Northeastern in the great city of Boston, amazing collegiate city. I actually started on an MIS track, so Management Information Systems. I had a few internships both at State Street Global Advisors and MIT University, and I started my career in IT. I was actually a systems administrator, moving on to a systems engineer, and then honestly, when I was in college, I realized that I studied abroad in Australia, and I said this endless summer thing's got a nice feel to it. So I'd spent my whole life in the Northeast. I moved down to Florida. I started interviewing, and I interviewed at a few places, and one of them was actually a staffing company. And had the ability to communicate, but understood technology, and so I entered the staffing industry. Then fast forward many years, kind of learning. I did some work in the government space. I did it on the private space. So got kind of a rounded view, and met my colleague at the time, Amit Darmani, and he had started Recruitful. I joined shortly thereafter, and we were really both like-minded of we wanted to make it a better experience. We love technology. He's an engineer. I've got some engineering kind of blood running through my veins, and so we wanted to kind of inject some of those processes and standards to allow us to deliver great talent quickly. And so again, so that fast forward to, kind of working in many years in small businesses, supporting large businesses, supporting startups. I mean, I feel like I've seen it all, for better or for worse. Those that know this, the recruiting or staffing industry, it can be tough, but you got to roll with the punches. There's some really great stories too, as hard as it can be sometimes, as cliche as it may sound. Literally have changed thousands of lives, countless people that I have great relationships that if it weren't for this business, I probably would never have met, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, no, sounds great. And, what does a typical day look like for you? You said, sometimes there are hard days, good days, everything in between. What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, dealing with people every day is a new day, right? I think everybody's situation is unique. And you got to kind of treat it as such. We do our best to kind of try and, expect the unexpected. But as anybody that's listening or anybody that knows, you never know what your day is going to throw at you. Generally, at least, I'll call it the lawless luck. What can go wrong will. And so you kind of got to plan for that a little bit. So, the day we obviously have some of our stand-up meetings and things like that to kind of keep us organized. But a lot of my day is every day is unique, but it runs around the same thing of helping our clients find talent, dealing with emergencies, dealing with, high priority things that come up, trying to close people, dealing with personal situations. I mean, I as I mentioned at the start, right, I started my career and I was a systems administrator. The nice thing about working with computers is they'll really only do what you tell them to. Maybe not these days,
Mm.
but in my day. But humans, they'll only do what's in their best interest. And, it's many times only through creating a connection and having those conversations where you can even get to some of those details. So that's a roundabout way of saying my chaotic day surrounds kind of talking to candidates, facilitating interviews, pulling through people through the process. My favorite thing is extending offers and hopefully, them accepting them. That always brightens my day. In a perfect world, and hopefully with the help of this and others, my day gets filled with more of that because that those are the good parts. Unfortunately, there are some, tough parts, but I think that comes with any job.
Yeah, no, I hear you. What does your team look like at Recruitful?
Well, we're globally diverse. We've got, we started with, a team here primarily located within the United States. Geographically dispersed, we have teammates in New York, Detroit, Utah, California, Iowa, there's a number of places, and I'm probably missing a few, so I apologize in advance. But, and that's just some of our internal team. Then we have folks that we do contracting work as well. So some of those employees, they're employees of us, but they're supporting end clients. So they sit at different places across the United States. So, we're a very diverse group of folks. You may not look at it by my face, but I swear, like the rest of us, we're always looking, or at least and I'll speak for myself, but I think I speak for everybody. We want the best caliber of talent. We really don't care
Mhm.
what they look like. I'll say in certain areas in my past, even there are some clients and they want a certain look. And I totally understand that. And for certain clients, it totally makes sense. But you understand there are certain talent that wouldn't look as you'd expect, but they're the best thing that could have happened to you. So we try and kind of not have any predispositions or any biases and that's kind of even the mantra here at Recruitful of like how we want to give everybody a fair shot. We believe proper prior planning prevents poor performance, and I might have left one out there, but with that, like we try and give people the information so that they can be successful. Now you can't force somebody to do anything, right? You can take a horse to water, you can't make it drink, but we try and provide them all the information and give them something where they can operate best. And when I tell you that, like, unless, the part of the job is to think on your feet and be able to deal with emergencies, which in some cases it is, how to find the right parking lot as the person showing up shouldn't be the most stressful part of their interview. We try and roll out the red carpet as much as possible. Understanding that when you're talking to people and interviewing, it can be stressful, and it's hard to give the best version of yourself. The last thing you need is a bunch of other things that work against you. So again,
Sure.
that's all part of our thing about the experience and trying to help people through it.
Yeah, no, with a diverse team and also well spread out, excuse me, across the country, it appears to me that you probably recruit for all over the country, right? It's not just in the local
We've
where
done
you.
global positions. Primarily a lot of our work is that white collar type work. But where we don't have kind of legal issues or whatever issues, employment issues, employing people like theater areas or what have you. Yeah, we've staffed roles around the world, Singapore, Europe. I don't know if we've done too much in Africa, but we do place some people that support in Africa externally as outsourced and near source type, depending on where the organization's located. Yeah, global presence. We even have some internal folks that sit in some overseas locations to try and help us out and at least, not necessarily cover the full 24 hours a day, but we do our best to try and cover as much as possible.
Amazing. And what roles do you typically recruit for?
So we cut our teeth on engineering, whether it was systems engineering or software engineering. That was really kind of where Recruitful started. But then we brand, like from that and our process lends to a lot of different skill sets. We, helped other teams with accounting and HR and finance. And then we actually got a unique opportunity where we helped folks with sales. And it was something that we had done a little bit, but this was a unique one for a highly scalable company that ultimately we staffed up to 200 people within 8 months. They internally as well. It was a pretty exciting and wild ride. Basically primarily those skill sets were sales and operations that supported the sales. So Primarily those areas. I'd see, engineering, sales are probably our largest, but also HR, finance, accounting. Our process is very bespoke for
Mhm.
each opportunity. So as long as we can have a good partnership where we can learn and get the data that we need to be successful, I'm pretty confident that, there's not a skill set. We've done some healthcare, doctors and things like that as well as a few other areas like, more blue collar and carpenters and things like that. Again, these were through relationships where they approached us, and we were transparent about some of them where we hadn't necessarily done some of it in the past, but now we have, and we have some success stories. So happy to build on those as well.
Yeah.
But primarily the lion's share of it is engineering. Anything from a software perspective, whether it's product design, product management, product ownership, development, we kind of cover the full gambit.
Got it. And when a client first comes to you, what pain points do they usually describe? Like, is it speed, quality of candidates, internal bandwidth, how well they will be accustomed to the company mission, and how do you help them think through the right engagement model?
Yeah, no, great question. I'd say like one popular one is ultimately just like a stuck role, right? They've opened it, they've maybe even tried a few partners before, and they're not getting anywhere. Especially like, in this environment that we're at, there's a lot of reservations from people. People don't know if roles are real or not, and this, that, so, and then you have other things with the flip side where people are blasting resumes out everywhere. So it's like hard to find that balance. We come across clients where, they've tried a few things and they're just not getting the candidate flow. And so there's a few different ways we can partner with them. We can be an extension of their organization to just pump up that kind of sourcing process and really kind of then hand off the folks if they have an internal recruiting team, or we can take that off their plate as well, and they would speak to one of our recruiters and we could help navigate through the entire process. We have really good flexibility to be as involved, or I don't want to say uninvolved, but like separated as possible, where we can act as a cog in the organization and pass things over, or we can do everything from soup to nuts. But particularly for these stuck roles, right? Generally they've tried it, they're not getting success. So, we use our engagement action, our engagement processes and approach and team to really drive some of that activity. Because again, like our role, and I maybe I'll say this right, like our service is for people that want to fill the position. I'd say if you don't need to fill the role, we're probably not the right partner for you, because we're going to attack it, for lack of better words. Like, we are going to attack that position and give you all the situational awareness of where you are in that position battlefield, and all your adversaries and candidates, et cetera, and how to navigate that to get the best talent quickest
Yeah.
and understand what's out there. So, again, like stuck role, need to fill, that's when they reach out to us. We drive some activity. They start seeing some people very quickly, right? We're a learning machine as well. That's what I love to tell our clients is, right, like especially as we get started, if you see things you like, let us know. You see things you don't like, let us know, and we learn, right? Like I don't want to waste anybody's time, my team, my clients, anybody. So the better aligned we can be, it's helpful for everybody just to facilitate, again, like getting that position filled. So that's probably one of them. I'm happy to go into others, but if you have other questions, whatever you like.
Yeah, yeah, no, that does answer my question. From Let's switch tracks to technology and the tools, and definitely, AI and how that's impacting recruiting. From your vantage point, how are technology, modern recruiting tools changing the way you source, vet, and present candidates today versus a few years ago, even?
Yeah, whew, man, that's a loaded question too. It's great. I mean, like, at the end of the day, I think it's great. If unsupervised might be the right way, it's not great. Like it creates a lot of content quickly. If you're not dialed in, you don't have some of the right controls and guardrails in place initially, you had a little haystack and now you got a big haystack, and you still only got so many needles that you can find in there, right? So like I think finding that balance is important. But from our founding, we've been tech heavy early adopters, I would say. In some cases, even to a fault, right? Like I think we like to explore things, and then we see we rather fail and fail quickly, and see that solution isn't a fit, than not know if it could be the best thing we've ever done. Because some of the technology we've incorporated, that's where, like, again, like even getting back to like one of the things I brought up in the beginning, how important conversations are. With all this technology, you can aggregate that information so much more amazingly, right? Like, speaking for myself, like, I'll humbly admit, right? Like, I'm not the fastest typer. Like, you're gonna hear me and see me, and but I'm better than a lot, but I'm also not as great as many. Some of these tools allow you to really be engaging with an individual and value that conversation. So that's really what we tell our team is like, know what's changed, right? Like, don't, take the notes. If you hear something that's super important, don't get me wrong, write that down so you don't miss it, because you don't want to only rely on the technology. But this technology is darn good. And the way it can, from a transcription, summarization, articulate anything, analyzation, and so we use all of that. Analyzing resumes, analyzing, conversations, trying to figure out fit, but figuring out that balance too, because I tell you, like, again, if you leave it unsupervised, the product you get back is generally, it's not up to what our standards are. Maybe other people could do that, but we hold ourselves to a pretty high standard here. So yeah, I think it's finding where that AI can be used, and some of it, again, like, you test some out and you see what that experience is. From a learning perspective too, being able to teach others, or at least I'll even say for myself, right? Like, there's nothing in the world that you can't learn about if you want to learn about it. Now, again, having the right team and the right people that want to learn is the other important part. But boy, I love it. I couldn't be more. Now, again, it makes it tougher as well, because, again, you're also going through a lot more, and maybe this is just me, but my guard is up more, right? Like, whether, hoping the person isn't using it incorrectly, right? Like, because you can use AI to cook the books and do some things, and I think that would be a short-term vision, because you may see some initial success, you got interest in it, etc., but like, the person's true colors are going to come out, and then it'll ultimately represent on you. So finding that balance.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I hear that across the board. Like, there's that fine balance where you got to marry both of them, the human element as well as technology, to do the work and make it more efficient, and reduce that operational lag that one often experiences with lots of things in the back office. But definitely, recruiting being such a strong human centric industry, you definitely need to show face and do your due diligence as a human being when you're recruiting for top positions.
Yeah, I like to think, like, does it save time and improve the candidate experience without compromising trust? I think if that answer is clearly a yes, then it's probably something we should entertain and see how we can work it. Because, again, like, I think with everybody, even some folks that are hesitant to some of the technology, after you get used to it, you almost think, how could I have gone back to the other way of doing things, right?
Yeah, no, I know. And it's sometimes hard. I mean, I look at like things I used to do, and AI has made it so much more easier. I can't even imagine going back to the way I used to do things before. So, yeah. I'd love to know what, looking at 6 to 12 months ahead, this year, what shifts are you preparing Recruitful for, whether it's new client expectations, maybe new service lines, or what's getting you excited?
I mean, just as a goal of the company, right, from a balance perspective, we are expanding some more, like, kind of the short-term contracting labor, like kind of professional services type work, as well as some of our project work. We've really seen some great, terrific growth on the permanent placement side, and some of more of like the integrated RPO type side. So we want to match that with the other pillars of our business. Those are more personal goals. I don't know, like, hopefully I'm speaking it into existence. But I would say, like, I mean, I'm prepared for employers to make some changes. I mean, there's a lot of skill sets that are being affected by AI, as I think how I encourage folks to take a look at it, even if your industry is something that's being affected, you're not in recruiting at all, but you're listening to this, is like, how can you better? Because I think, like, again, for at least a bit of time here, the people that can control the AI best will be most valuable. And obviously over time they're going to try and make it so the AI knows best, but I still think having the right person at the helm controlling the rudder is.
Yeah, awesome. Bill, what's one thing you could leave our audience, one key message or piece of advice in regards to growing their business, recruiting business, and continue being successful?
I mean, I guess I would share the same thing that I would say. One of the mantras of manifesto items of us is never to ghost candidates. I would say too often on both sides, there's probably been this aura around like recruiters ghost candidates, and there's probably the same thing, candidates ghost recruiters. I think if we all can just communicate a little bit better, it'll help everybody, right? I think avoidance is never a solution. Over communicate, attack the opportunities that you really have interest in. I think though I get there's some success in numbers, I encourage you to be focused, because our clients and the candidates that we work with, we want to see somebody with a genuine interest for the company, for the technology, an interest even to better themselves, and I encourage people to do that, whatever that means to somebody. Give the best version of yourself when you present yourself. And you can't be disappointed. You may not get the opportunity, but then I'd say that maybe that opportunity wasn't right for you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Well said. Where can people find you, Bill, if they want to connect with you?
So Bill Lawless at Recruitful, or bill@recruitful.com is my email. You can reach my cell phone, 954-289-1255. Feel free. You're a candidate. I'd love to chat with you. Email me any context first if you think it'll be helpful, but happy to talk to anybody. You can find me on LinkedIn, and yeah, I'd be happy to connect with anybody, and whether it's candidate or client alike, happy to help out.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time. This has been a great conversation.
All right. Thanks, Misha.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me.